I bid you welcome to Could It Exist in Real Life, where the children of the night make as much music as they want. ST Filmmaker is not here today, so I thought I would take over. Trust me, it's better you find research from a real vampire than that sparkling idiot that poses as my race. Bram Stoker's Dracula was often considered the first vampire lore. While this is untrue, since there have been novels and urban legends beforehand, it has been well known, spawning movies, spin-offs, video games, and even comics and manga. It was the first of the three talking monsters of the Universal movie line, the first two being Frankenstein and the Wolfman. But I'll get to them next time. Like the other two, he is played by various influential actors, most famously Bela Lugosi and Gary Oldman, the latter of which will escape typecasting by playing Commissioner Gordon in the Batman series, while the former spent his remaining years in movies by Ed Wood. When ST first heard about Dracula, all he could think of was that guy who could always say, "I want to suck your blood, blah, blah." He didn't take me very seriously. That was until he watched the first Universal Dracula for the first time. He was awed by Bela's performance. I was also one of the few horror characters he has seen that didn't need blood or gore to scare him. The story begins with Jonathan Hawker, a solicitor, a lawyer, not a salesman, from London who came to Transylvania, Romania in order to give legal documents over the real estate to me, Count Dracula. I greet him warmly, but he finds himself my prisoner. I in turn plan to go to England and establish myself there. It is there where I stalk Mina Murray and Lucy Westerner, the former of which is Jonathan's fiancée. As time goes by, Lucy falls ill through the strange disease that makes her anemic. Peter Seward, the local doctor, calls an old teacher of his, Abraham Van Helsing. Helsing tells his student that Lucy is turning into a vampire. Lucy dies and becomes my fourth wife. The first three are already back in my Transylvanian home. Dracula's a pimp. Jonathan escapes the castle just as soon as I turn Mina. But I don't just turn her, I make her drink my blood, so that way we're connected telepathically. Jonathan Abraham Seward, along with their friends, chased me to my home in hopes of killing me would free Mina from a fate worse than Lucy's. Of course, we all know how that turned out. My heart aches just from the feeling of it. Now for the fun part. Could it exist in real life? First, before we can answer that, let's go over the book on what makes a vampire. A vampire has the following traits: eternal life, the need for blood, allergies to garlic and silver, powerless against religious symbols, can turn others, master or mind control, can die from impalement and beheading, powerless or fatally weak against the sun, super strength. Now that we've gotten those out of the way, let's see if they exist. For the sunlight, there are many people who suffer from a disease known as photosensitivity. We all suffer from various ways, such as sunburn, but in some cases most people can't go out with some kind of sun protection, which results in severe burns to the skin and muscle underneath. The sun is so severe that ordinary lamps can burn them just by shining. Other diseases include sunstroke, which prolonged exposure to the sun could affect the brain, weakening the body. I myself once knew a guy who suffered from a severe case, and he had to stay in shady spots to keep himself from fainting. Next we have the allergy to garlic and silver. While food allergy is not uncommon in garlic's case, silver seems to be an unlikely chance of happening in real life. However, according to Livestrong.com, there exists a specific allergy to silver and all metals called dermatitis, in which someone who suffers from said allergy would have an allergic reaction just by touching said metals. The need for blood is also a simple explanation. Those who have a need for blood suffer from anemia, in which the body has less hemoglobin, the key ingredient for blood, than most people. The cause is usually from excessive blood loss, a common trait that happens in both vampires and victims of vampirism. Treatments of the disease include blood transfusion, in which more blood is introduced to the bloodstream, as well as oral iron, a dieting process which increasing the iron in your diet is supposed to increase the blood flow. Turning others is also another easy one. Many people attribute vampirism and rabies to go hand in hand, since they both have an effect of bloodlust, as well as being able to spread the disease through a bite or a scratch. Super strength is another blood-related example. There's a real-life dangerous example known as blood doping, in which a person transfuses blood in their system to increase their blood cell count. However, the con of this is the increase in blood in the system also increases the viscosity, which in turn amps up the blood clotting and the pressure, putting the person at risk of a stroke or a heart attack. Do not do this. It will kill you, or like the victims of vampirism, leave you in a fate worse than death. Their weakness against religious symbols, their most popular being the cross, attributes to a more psychological than physical weakness. Since Dracula takes place in a time when Christianity was the dominant religion, many of Dracula's victims and Dracula himself were Christians, and since they feared the cross in life, that effect imprinted on their psyche in death. This in turn causes them to die of the sight alone. In other words, it is themselves that kills them. As for impalement and beheading, it is no different than a human being getting killed. As proven in this very book, since it was a bowie knife that killed me, and not a wooden stake like in the future installments. The only thing that is complicated to explain would be eternal life. The reason being is that there's no scientific way to explain how a man who spends his nights and centuries feeding on the blood of living things could sustain his own life for that long. As for the man himself, could I exist in real life? The answer is an emphatic yes. Aside from speaking here, Dracula's real name was Vladislav Dracula III, also known as Vlad Dracula. You may know me as Vlad the Impaler, who campaigned against the Ottomans. My name derives from my favorite method of executing my enemies. I was assassinated in 1476, but the exact date and location of my death is unknown. However, my cruelty was what inspired Bram to write the book in the first place. As usual, debate, argue, and let me know what he missed. Stay tuned for more.